Guru Nation, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share. Look, I'm not driving, but I got another opinion piece. I know I've been doing the opinion pieces in the car, but I got one for you here. I forgot to do it in the car. Small sites, the difference between small sites and big sites, and what sponsors probably don't know, at least a lot of them don't know, what we have in common, what we don't have in common, and how it relates to a bunch of things, but especially within the context of diversity and the new diversity initiative guidelines that the FDA put out. So, small research sites, unlike academic medical centers, are for-profit sites. Secondly, they are usually family-owned, meaning there's not investors, there's not venture capital, there's not other companies behind them. They're usually mom and pop, physician, entrepreneur, maybe an entrepreneur partnering with a physician and a nurse practitioner, as is exactly the case with my recent site, Yuma Clinical Trials. We bootstrapped it. We had no investment capital, and we expanded in our city with specialists. And each site, each specialist is considered its own site, and we're small sites, and we lack the resources and we lack the attention. I think the biggest difference is between us and larger sites and especially academic medical centers is our PIs are not considered key opinion leaders. Like, these are not necessarily thought leaders in their industry, but they don't go on speaking circuits. They usually don't get paid to go give presentations on behalf of pharmaceutical companies, but they are, at least the sites that I operate and a lot of my colleagues, community-based clinicians that actually, old school, care about their patients, know them by name, actively treat them. A lot of them are in underserved communities like Yuma. A lot of Hispanic patients were right 20 minutes away from the border, of the Mexican border. A lot of underserved populations, a lot of misconceptions from these communities about healthcare in general, let alone clinical research. And us as small sites, we have to be savvy the way we negotiate our contracts as far as getting the resources approved first. So community outreach resources, for example. Right now, as I'm doing this, one of my CRCs is literally at a event, because it's the July 3rd right now. So at a local casino, they do an event every year on the 3rd and the 4th. She's passing out cards. Shout out to Lana. She's passing out cards. For those that think I'm making this up, she's showing me proof right now that she's doing it. That's not allocated for in any study, but that's benefiting all of our studies. And we do it not because we're Mother Teresa, although Lana pretty much has a servant heart, and most of our coordinators do. We do it because ultimately we understand it's going to benefit. This is a marketing initiative. This is a branding initiative. And it's also our duty to go out there in the communities that we serve and educate the patients. And we're not necessarily trying to get all the sponsors to pay for this. But I'm making this video, or I'm writing this article, if you read this later, on my LinkedIn newsletter, investigator brochure, to let you know that we do utilize your community outreach budgets, the marketing budgets. We do utilize every penny of it. At my site, we also have a YouTube channel and an active Instagram channel where we interview business people from the community. The majority of them have been minorities. That's not really coming out of anyone's budget. It's coming out of our pocket. Again, every study we get kind of contributes towards this. This is why we have community outreach fees in our budgets. Shout out to who negotiates them. We also run Facebook ads, Instagram ads. Some of those do get paid for directly, but oftentimes we use way more than what our budgets give us. But it still makes sense as long as we have enough studies and the sponsors approve our community outreach fees, marketing fees, and as long as they're seeing the proof, and the proof is in the pudding, the proof is in the randomizations. They've kind of stopped asking for third-party receipts a long time ago. I got plenty of third-party receipts to show them. if they want. I'm pretty sure all of our sponsors know we are actually out there working. And I mean, it's evident on our social media, it's evident on our website, it's evident in our enrollment numbers. But this is the difference between us and academic medical centers. Like when an academic medical center does something like this, it has to be an event that either they are like sponsoring or an event where it's just a tradition that they go like every year. They get a few staff members to go. But the sponsors don't even expect the AMCs to do the community outreach, because in a way, the academic medical centers are the pillars. They're supposed to be like the shining beacon of what a research site is supposed to do. But I'm here telling you that the small research sites are doing just as much, if not more, and with less resources. So there's something to say about efficiencies, and there's something to say about the smaller your site is, the further the dollar will take you. I've seen it at my own sites. When my sites are small, a $500 marketing campaign goes a long way. As soon as we get a little bigger, we start having a little more vendors get involved, it gets a little bit further removed from the actual coordinators doing the work. It gets a little less efficient, so you get a little less output for the same amount of input. And I know at these big institutions, there's a lot of inefficiency as far as their marketing dollars are allocated. So I think it behooves sponsors to understand, and CROs, but really sponsors are the ones that need to care and know that the small sites, don't overlook them just because the PIs are not key opinion leaders. Don't overlook the power of having small sites in underserved areas. Now the hard part is finding the sites. A lot of these sites don't do a good job marketing themselves, and that's why Chris and I in 2013 started our consulting firm where we help smaller sites get noticed, get studies, get their opportunities, get in touch with the big sponsors and their reps and their medical science liaisons, and ultimately, it's like a snowball. The snowball just gradually gets bigger. It's not linear. Gradually gets bigger, and then ultimately, it exponentially increases into where you hit critical mass, and now the studies start coming on their own. And now you can go on places like that's a sponsor of this podcast, or Creo, if you're using Creo, and they can start helping you with advertising and marketing for your site. So don't overlook the small sites just because our PIs are not key opinion leaders. The coordinators are out here working hard, not saying that the academic medical centers don't, but they're playing a different game. They're not necessarily playing the game of how do we maximize profits on our study budgets. They are playing the game of how do we do enough industry-sponsored trials to where the sponsors, to where we are, I mean, in fairness to them, to where we're providing a real service to our community. This is the AMCs. I do not dislike them. They are providing a service to their community. They take on studies, in fairness to them, to give their patients in the community the right opportunities and a diverse group of opportunities. But they're in it for the grants. They're in it for the tech transfer offices. They're playing a completely different ballgame than us small sites. Not to mention the lack of efficiency in their study startup or in their staff turnover. You're going to be able to squeeze more juice out of the orange being a study budget, from smaller sites as opposed to academic medical centers. So work with us. Latinos in Clinical Research is going to be releasing a white paper on some of the actual strategies that we implement. But at my site, it's been interviews with business leaders in the community. It's been repurposing those interviews into shorts for Instagram. It's been going to community events like farmers market, like casino nights, like 4th of July nights, having a dedicated community outreach. Look, she's literally texting me right now. I still have my shirt on because she just got off of work, and she's out at these events raising awareness. Like, not even advertising for any particular study, just letting them know, hey, we're here. These are the therapeutic areas that we have. We are always getting studies for these things. If you or a loved one wants to learn more, here's our website, here's my card. We're paying for that out of pocket. But that to me as a business owner, that's marketing expense. Now, if I get enough sponsors to give me studies and they all give me a reasonable amount for the community outreach, it ultimately helps everybody. And I think as an industry, that's what we want. We want to push the industry forward. But it's so tempting for the sponsors to just go for the attractive key opinion leader when you're missing out, especially when it comes to diversity. You're missing out on real clinicians serving diverse and underserved patients in communities that probably need research more than these academic medical centers need research, and probably would appreciate doing the research much more than these large academic medical centers are concerned. So hopefully this helps some sponsors understand the differences in marketing between smaller sites and larger sites. So hopefully this helps some sponsors and CROs understand some of the key differences between smaller sites and larger sites. I do think if I were a sponsor, I would want a good mix, because let's face it, there's a lot of benefits that the key opinion leaders have. But if we're talking about diversity, you're going to get the most bang for your buck and the most output for your input by going at these small sites and underserved communities. That's it. Not to mention the dollar goes a lot further there, especially when we're talking about marketing dollars. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Let me know your thoughts, Guru Nation. Bye-bye.